Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Mark.
I changed it up a little bit.
How'd you change it up?
It's now the podcast.
Oh, it's now, okay. What was it before?
Maine Outdoor Enthusiast podcast.
Okay. It's just the podcast.
Well, there's a lot of podcasts out there, but this is the podcast.
Yeah.
Right?
There is a lot of podcasts out there. Yeah. Everybody's got a podcast.
Everyone's doing one.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about this week?
I'm not sure.
You never know.
Was it our trip up in the woods, our bird hunting trip?
Yeah, we've gone 2 weeks without doing, I think 2 weeks.
Yeah, we did miss, we missed last Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is episode 16. We're now a week deep into bird season.
Yeah.
Right? We just finished last week.
Yeah. And we've been out very little. Well, you've been...
I've been
2 days.
Twice.
Yeah, 2 days.
And then we've also had the Maine moose hunt that just finished up.
Yeah.
That first week, which coincided, what was it? The last Saturday of that season was the first Saturday of bird season.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. September 30th was the Saturday that...
which was a busy week up in the North Maine woods.
It was. Yeah. Really busy.
Yeah. The family and I spent Wednesday and Thursday of that week up there kind of playing around. And didn't go bird hunting Saturday because I had to work. Mm-hmm. But we made the trip up.
And the weather wasn't I had it off, obviously, and I didn't go. It was 75, 77 degrees out that day. It was not bird hunting weather. So.
The day we went, it was 77.
Same thing, yeah. We had a stretch of weather last week that was up in the mid-70s all week, and yeah.
But there was no wind.
No.
That's one of the big things.
Right.
Bird hunting, anyway, having no wind. Wind will spoil your day.
Yeah, almost any outdoor activity, whether you fish or...
Well, I mean, not deer tracking.
Right, deer tracking is the one thing. A little bit of wind is a good thing.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. I don't want trees falling around me.
No, not safe to be in the woods in a situation like that.
Speaking of which, you were up in the woods last night, and I guess the camper was rocking.
It was
Lacey
windy.
said, yeah.
You said 50 mile an hour.
And we thought about you, and because they were calling for 50 mile an hour winds there last night, so and heavy rain.
Yeah, we just got back a few hours ago.
Yeah.
I showered and came out.
Yeah, you look fresh.
Yeah, after
chasing 3 kids around the woods
for 2 nights. And,
a wife and a dog. There, you look pretty good.
So we went, well, thank you.
Yeah, well, you're welcome.
So we went in last Tuesday night. Or you went in Tuesday.
Yeah, I get in a little after 1 o'clock at the gate. So I was hunting from then. You
hunted your way in.
Yeah.
And then cooked supper.
Yeah. And I actually hunted pretty hard. I was in the woods looking.
How'd you make out?
I never saw a bird from 1 o'clock in the afternoon until I hunted right until legal time, which was just about 6:30, and I never saw a bird.
And that's the common thread that I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Monday and Tuesday, I talked to a lot of guys that spent at least those 2 days in the woods. And I know there was a party, I don't know, 4 or 5 guys that spent 2 days hunting. And I wonder if I may be a little bit off on this, but I recall one vehicle with 2 guys in it, and those 2 days saw 4 birds and got 2.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there was another vehicle that didn't see any or just saw 1. But I hear a lot of people that big goose egg not seeing anything.
Yeah.
With a lot of miles.
With a lot of miles in the best bird country in the state.
Yep.
Paul, that west of Ashland, the North Maine woods, it's the best place to bird hunt in the state. And
now I was pretty fortunate because I closed up shop at 5:30 and headed straight in to meet you. And I had like 45 minutes of
legal time. Yeah.
Wasn't really serious about bird hunting on the way in. I just kind of got quite a drive to get in to where you were at. Yeah. So I just kind of, once I got past the gate, I was just hightailing her in.
Yeah.
Gun was in the bed of the pickup.
Yeah.
In the gun case. Bullets in the ammo bag behind the back seat.
Yeah.
And geez, I'm on a pretty well-traveled gravel road.
Oh, yeah. Did you notice the dust in the trees?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't think a bird would come out on that road.
No.
They couldn't breathe.
I come around the corner. There's a bird.
Yeah.
So I get her pulled over.
Yeah.
And it ran up the bank. I run back and get the gun off the back of the truck and get it loaded up and run up into the woods, and boys, at that point, I think I had 20 minutes left of legal time, and you get into the woods.
So that's 10 minutes after sunset.
Yeah, you get into the woods, and it's dark. And I could just hear him kind of running in front of me, and I just took off through the woods, and I was going up the bank, and he was running up the bank in front of me, and I couldn't see him that good, but he was walking across the bank, and I like, yeah, that's him. That's the general area. Yeah. And he fell down the bank. That was the end of it. So I was thinking, well, maybe this won't be as bad. That was the first bird that I'd seen all year.
Right, in the woods. Yeah, yeah.
All year long.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, maybe this won't be as bad as I thought it was going to be. And then I got there and talked to you, and you're like, I haven't seen.
Never saw
anything.
A bird.
So there was one. So then we get up the next morning and drove a fair ways, but we did a lot of walking. We did a lot of walking. Went into some old deer hunting territory.
Which was real interesting to get in our old stomping grounds there. That
a lot of people may not appreciate it like we do. There's a lot of memories there. Yeah. And things change really fast.
Yeah.
Like, of course, it was hot, and now we were hoofing her down in there and went clear to the Allagash.
Yeah.
And actually, to kind of get my bearings on some of the spots we were going into, I kind of had to almost go all the way down to the Allagash, get some sort of landmark, and then work my way back.
Right.
To know exactly where.
Because
previous deer that we'd shot, where those occurred.
Because nothing walking in there looked like it did.
Oh my gosh.
When we hunted it.
No.
When we hunted it, it was wide open. You could drive a car in there, and now you had a hard time walking through the alders.
The woods takes over quick.
Yeah, it does.
It's crazy. Even driving down it, you figured, I can't believe we ever drove down this.
Yeah.
And when I was a little kid, I can remember going in there and seeing great big clear cuts.
Yes.
You know, it was just, you could see for.
Yeah. And
seems like forever.
The woods are pretty, it's up there. I won't say it's mature or whatever.
Probably not harvest time yet, but it's
dark.
Getting there.
Yeah. It's dark in the woods.
Yeah. So we shot a bird on that road. That bird that was actually drumming.
Yeah. That's the, well, you're going to have a video, I'm sure, of that bird.
It'll be up this Wednesday.
Yeah.
I've been kind of lagging behind on.
Yeah.
It's been a busy couple weeks with moving stuff in and out of the woods. And
and maybe somebody else can comment on it, but I've read for a lot of years. I read a lot of publications. I've never read or heard of anybody following the sound of a drumming grouse and going in and shooting it off the log while it's drumming.
So just to give a quick recap of what happened was we're walking into that road, and I get a little ways ahead of you, walking out, and I catch a partridge drumming just off to my right. And it was fairly close, and I'm like, well, birds are in low numbers.
Right.
I know there's a bird right there.
Right.
Might as well spend some time, see if I can go up and get it. And I've done it 3 times. Every time I've done it,
you've been successful.
I've been able to do it, so I can't imagine it's that hard.
Yeah.
That difficult. I've never heard of anyone else, and I'm sure there's plenty of people that have, but I've never heard of anyone else shooting.
If they have, like I say, and I read all the magazines and stuff, and read a lot about bird hunting and stuff. I've never read of anybody doing it, so I'm sure there must have been.
So it's hard to pinpoint the sound.
All I could tell when we stopped, Paul, I had the wrong direction.
Yeah,
I knew what side of the road it was on. That was it for me.
I knew it was on the block of woods.
I knew it was on this side of the road, the right-hand side. But as far as you went kind of back, and I thought it was kind of up ahead. And
where I'd stopped, so I'd gone by the bird where I'd stopped.
Yeah.
If I looked straight into the woods, he was basically like a 45-degree angle from where I was standing.
And I thought he was to the left.
Yeah, you thought basically the opposite. Well, another 45.
But I had the right side of the road anyway.
You did.
Yeah.
So I kind of just, and the woods were wicked thick. And so I get up in there and I just took my time. And every time he would drum, I would get a better idea of where he was at.
Pinpoint it better.
And would move a little bit further, but really slow and just really take my time. And pretty soon I see him down in the woods drumming.
Yeah.
And I just caught his wingtips moving back and forth. And then there was an old skid trail that everything's grown up in it now, but there was, it was nice and mossy.
Yeah.
and it basically was going to go right down to the right of where he was drumming.
Right.
And I just slowly picked my way along that moss.
You kept a tree, so you could see his wingtips, but you had a tree between you, so he really couldn't see you.
And then even when I got down, so he ended up being on this, because I usually use a log. So I'm looking through the woods like a big old log. And so I get down in there, closer to him, and pretty soon I catch movement. And yeah, there was still a tree in between us, which I didn't get the best footage of it because of that.
Yeah.
That he started drumming. So I sat there and watched him drumming, and then I pull a gun up while he's drumming. And when he stopped drumming, that was the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And shot the bird. So, I mean, it wasn't that hard. He had no idea it was there.
No.
And yeah, so it's the third time. And he was a big
drummer, big male.
Big grouse. So it's pretty cool. You get in there and you can see the log where he's been, because they'll use basically the same.
That's what I hear. They'll come back to the
log.
same. Yeah. That's what I've heard.
You can see droppings all over it. And it's basically like a miniature sonic boom.
Yeah. It's not when they hit isn't it when they come out, their wings come away?
It's just the speed of their wings breaking the sound barrier.
Right.
So you do the same thing. Like if you crack a whip,
right,
you can get the end of that whip to break the sound barrier.
Yeah.
And yeah, people back in the day used to think it was like them hitting their breast or whatever.
Yeah, but
it's just air movement.
Yeah.
And it breaks the sound barrier, and it literally, it feels like it's in your chest.
Mm.
I've been walking before, and I've almost thought, God, am I going into AFib or something? Like a bird is just far enough away where it's drumming, and you just kind of feel this bass inside your chest, and it kind of takes your breath out. You're like, my heart's skipping a beat or what?
Yeah.
Then it's a bird drumming.
Yeah, and also I read a lot of articles about, when I was a kid in field and stream and outdoor life, and they often said that it was very hard to find a bird doing that because once you get close, it sounded like it was coming from all directions.
Yeah.
This is what they wrote. They said it was all, it was very hard to follow that and to.
Yeah. I don't know. I could
whether that's true or not, but that was written. I've read articles
I think,
on.
And maybe I've always had really good hearing. I've got terrible eyesight, but I have really good hearing. And maybe, I don't know, my hearing acuity's different.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't hear hardly at all.
No, I don't hear very good. That's for sure.
But you've got phenomenal eyesight.
Well,
I hope to hold on to my hearing for as long as possible, because that's one of those inevitable things of time.
Yeah. And you can help yourself. And I didn't. And I shot a lot of shotguns and rifles without hearing protection, and I've paid the price. So
yeah, you will, and it's later in life that it shows up.
Yeah,
guys that work, guys that have spent time, veterans that have spent time in war, firing shells nonstop. I knew people that were like Vietnam.
Yeah,
that they couldn't hear out of one ear because of that. Different occupations. You see a lot of like metal workers,
right?
They can't hear
right
stinking things. So it really comes in handy hunting.
It sure does.
Really good hearing.
Many times, Paul, you and I have hunted together, and you've looked at me, and you've heard a deer walking, and I can't hear it at all.
Yeah, I remember we were up. I was like, I just heard a deer. Just a thud.
Yeah,
like a heavy animal.
Yeah,
and
there's been a few times.
You're like, there's no deer over there, and we went over, and there was.
Yeah,
we'd caught them.
Yeah, there's been a few times where we've been hunting and stuff, and you've heard the deer, and I couldn't hear a thing.
No.
So last year when you jumped the deer and it ran past George and I, he said I know, he stopped and
he heard something.
He did.
Yeah,
he did. That deer that the day we had the little campfire there, George and I. That deer ran by us. Yeah, he heard it. He was looking right up in that.
He went right up your guys' tracks.
Yeah, well, like I say, George looked right over that way, and he said, "I heard." I didn't hear a thing.
No. Well, and that's you're what 60.
Well,
you're 82.
60, yeah,
85.
I'll be 65 this hunting season, so
yeah,
a little less than 2 months.
I wish I had good eyesight.
Yeah,
I mean, I have like average eyesight with corrective lenses, but
yeah. Well, my eyesight's, as far as, being tested, it's going, but your hunting eyesight is totally different. I mean, that's about picking things out, knowing what to look for.
Yeah, we've talked about that before. A lot of that's trained.
That's knowing what to look for, and so.
Yeah. So so those were 2 birds we shot. And then we shot a couple that it was kind of weird. Went by a vehicle.
Yeah.
And like literally 20 seconds later, he just went around the corner and there was a bird up on the bank, and then shot one on the way out.
Basically, in the day and a half that we hunted, we saw 4 birds and shot 4 birds.
4 birds. So I guess relatively speaking, it was pretty good. But I guess in absolute terms, it wasn't not the best.
No.
Not the best bird hunting.
No.
We had a feeling, and it could get better. There's a lot of foliage on the trees, and it was warm that day.
Yeah, I think you're right. Things could get better.
But not hearing anyone having.
No, I haven't heard.
Special.
I haven't heard. But and there again, we didn't hear one positive report all summer long. From anybody that works in the woods or spent time in the woods, or we didn't hear any positive reports.
Now on the flip side, the moose season has turned out to be better than I would have anticipated. And the first week is actually up from the previous 2 years.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. Haven't heard any numbers. So.
I got some here. Let me see. I looked some up real quick. So week 1, there was 775 moose killed, roughly what's been reported. And that's about a 74% success rate.
Oh, that's good.
That's pretty good.
Anytime you're hunting an animal for 1 week and a big game animal, especially, that you're 75% success.
3/4 of the people are shooting moose.
Yeah. That's a good and average.
I had a feeling they were going to be up because I was working in Ashland the first 2 days of moose season, and I'm watching moose going by, and of course you get a lot of people coming in telling me, "Oh, I was at Gateway." That's the store that
tagging
is
station,
right at the mouth of the Reality Road going into the North Maine woods. And I had a lot of people coming in saying, "God, they're like 20 deep right now."
Yeah.
With people waiting in line, and there were some big moose. And I think the Monday, this is just from word of mouth, people coming in, it was roughly 40 were tagged at Gateway Monday, which I was like, darn, that's pretty good. But they had some actual numbers from Gateway. So that first week, they ended with 216 moose shot or registered at Gateway.
Yeah.
Which is up. Well, this is actually the one that's up from previous years. I don't know about the moose total previous years, but this is actually, so last year at Gateway, there was 187.
Yeah, that's
registered for the first week.
Good jump.
2021 was 211.
Yeah.
So about on par with 2021, but and the first day was upwards of like 40 moose shot. So I think they said there was 4 reported. They know of that were over 1,000 pounds.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's usually the biggest, if you get a couple of those in the entire state in the year, you're doing
and that, like I said, I think a couple of them that they reported on, they didn't get exact weights. They just were saying they were over 1,000. I think there was one at Gateway, it was like 1,064 or something, or 1,024. That's a really big moose.
Yeah.
And it's funny, we haven't seen many moose this year, but we saw a nice bull.
Yeah, saw a decent bull on the
and then Lacey and I and the kids driving up Friday night. It's a nice bull in the road. That was probably pushing 50 inches.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good bull.
Hard to tell when they're back too. Things always look bigger.
Yeah.
When you're looking at the back of a head. But it was a nice bull. I would have shot it.
Yeah, 50.
I would have shot it for sure. So I was shocked by how that week had gone down because it was warm. We had warm days.
We did. It wasn't the best week to moose hunt. That's
mornings
for sure.
Mornings were cold.
Yeah.
And it seems like a lot of the people I talked to that had that week, like tagged out the first day.
Yeah.
Early on, there was a guy that came in. He had 2 spots. He had what he called his A spot and his B spot.
Yeah.
Or he had trail cam pictures of some nice bulls and stuff. And he said, we get in there early for their first spot and someone's in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, okay, it's plan B. And he comes down the road into their second spot. There's a nice bull standing in the road.
Oh, no kidding.
And he said it was like 10 minutes before legal time.
Yeah.
15 minutes before legal time. And they sat there in the truck.
Yeah, waited.
Till legal time. And it had kind of wandered off into the woods. And they come down around the corner. And if I get the story correct, bull standing in the road. It's legal time now at this point. They shot it. Actually was another bull. And I think he said those two were fighting.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah.
Around. It actually was a little bit smaller.
Yeah. They got the littler one.
But he was, boom, done.
Yeah.
I was like, well, that's good.
A few minutes.
Yeah. So that was pretty good.
Yeah.
So another thing we'll be doing is a little deer preseason tune-up. We'll have to sight in our rifles.
Sighting in the rifles, yeah.
Yeah, do that. You haven't even shot you didn't do any shooting with your shotgun, did you?
I did not. I've shot one shell this year and at the bird that I got.
Took care of a bird.
Yeah.
Didn't miss it.
Yeah, and you spotted that sitting on a rock. So
yeah, he was kind of posing for us.
Yeah, he was.
That was right after a truck went by.
Yeah, they had to drive right by it.
It was like head level right there on a rock.
Yeah. Yeah. So sticking out like a sore thumb.
Yep.
So yeah.
So sighting in deer rifles, that can be kind of a hot button topic with people.
I just watched a guy that I like to watch, Ron Spoomer, Outdoors there, and he's a gun editor, writer, whatever, for I think some magazines and stuff, and he knows his stuff. And yeah, he was. And then I watched another YouTube channel that I like to watch, and he was sighting in his rifle, and he was asking for suggestions and stuff, and yeah. So
we always do like 30 yards.
Yeah.
And at least for my gun, so there's multiple reasons why I personally like sighting at 30 yards. So at least for my gun, I know how it shoots. And I know if I zero at 30 yards, I'm roughly 2 inches, 2.5 inches high.
Yeah.
At 100.
Yeah.
And that's basically 100, 125 yards is basically where it apexes.
Right.
Where it peaks and then it starts to descend. So I use a low power scope, and I should sit down and think of all the deer that I've shot, what probably the average distance is. But it's less than 50 yards.
Mm-hmm.
The average distance that I shoot most of the deer. So everything's close range.
Right.
And so, and I use a low power scope. I'm not going to be shooting 100 yards
right
and beyond, probably. And most of the shots are going to be freehand.
Right.
Right. So I don't need to be super accurate, super tight groups. And so also sighting, a 30-yard zero allows you don't need the room required to do 100-yard.
Yeah, well, we don't have the room.
No.
So, yeah.
And I can do it anywhere. If I'm out and about, if I bump my gun, like I can remember one year, Chris, we were walking down a old road that wasn't drivable. And there was kind of like, you get the roads where you have kind of like some ledge.
Yeah.
It comes under the road and some water froze on that. And didn't his feet come right? We were hiking in real quick, going way into a spot. And he had his gun over his shoulder because we were going right along. And his feet came right out from under him. He came right down on top of his gun. And you go.
That'll make you question your hunt the rest of the day.
Yeah.
How your gun's going to shoot her.
It was dead on. Never knocked it off.
Oh, no,
I would have bet money that
that it would have been off.
Yeah, because he came down.
Yeah.
He came down on top of it on those rocks.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't need the room.
Yeah.
To get out there 100 yards. And it's pretty easy to do. You can theoretically just look at a box of bullets and there's all these charts available, ballistics
right
on your bullets. There's all these ballistic charts available, apps. I use like a Hornaday app where I can put in like the ballistic coefficient. You can even, probably some of them get into like humidity and temperature and stuff like that, because that has
that plays a part.
It does.
Yeah.
The information you get on the back of that box is set at like a standard I'd say humidity, temperature, stuff like that. I doubt it would. I haven't played with those numbers, but I doubt it would ever throw it off enough to be any significant difference at all. But your velocity of the bullet, the grain of the bullet,
right,
and the height of your sight over the barrel,
over your bore,
and you can basically look and see, like at 30 yards, I use a 270 with 150 grain bullets, and 30 yards, I'm going to be a couple inches high at 100, 125 yards.
Yeah. So that's exactly the deal is, I think they considered a deer's heart to be about 6 inches.
Yeah.
And then if you like the common 30-06, maybe 165 grain, if you're dead on, and I can't remember if it was 30 or 35 yards, we'll say 30 yards, but you were going to be 2 inches high at 100 yards. And then, like, I don't know if it was back on at 200 or 250. And you were good to like almost 300 yards where your bullet was never any more than 3 inches high or 3 inches low from your point of aim.
So it didn't deviate any more than 3 inches.
Right. So you
Plus
didn't deviate any more than 3 inches high or low. So, you're good. You're going to hit the deer's heart out to 300 yards.
Yeah.
Without making any adjustments.
Yep.
Just pointing at the deer's heart.
Right where you want to.
Right where you want the bullet to go.
Now, so, obviously play around with it. You can run all these numbers and get kind of but I've actually done it where I sight in at 30 yards and I'm dead on and I go back to 100 and I'm a couple inches high.
Yeah.
Now, what really affects it the most, like I've got some 130 grain bullets that I use at back, a few years ago when bullets were hard to find, that was all I could find was 130 grain.
Right.
Just as a backup in case I needed some extra bullets or whatever. And back in my head, I'm like, well, how far does that throw off?
Not a lot.
Not for the distance that I'm shooting.
Yeah.
What really changes that 30 yard zero is the height of your
sight whether it's
over the barrel.
Yes, your scope over the barrel.
Yeah, typically I think they're standardized. Like if you look at the charts, they kind of default to like 1.5 inches.
1.5 inches.
Which my scope is 1.5 inches from center of the scope.
Some can be 2, and that's where it makes a difference.
Center of the barrel. Yeah, if you start playing with those numbers, and I forget off the top of my head, it's been a while since I've done it, but if you change that to like 2 inches and 0 at 30, it's going to be significantly different.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because the higher that scope is off the barrel, you basically need those 2 points to meet wherever you're zeroing your gun at. And you've created a greater distance.
Right. It'll cross that going up and then further out, cross it coming back down.
You end up putting more of an arc on your bullet.
Steeper angle going up.
Kind of lobbing it in there.
Yeah.
And so I've always been a fan of having a sight that's closer to my barrel, especially for up close shots.
Yeah.
Which is like 90% of my hunting.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not big into like some guys. They love ballistics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I know how my gun shoots.
Right.
And I'm very comfortable sighting in a 30 yard zero.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know about other calibers and slower velocity, higher velocity guns. I don't pay attention to those numbers.
Yeah.
I just know my deer rifle well.
Right.
And
and like you say, I'm no expert when it comes to this ballistics and there's no lack of information out there. If you don't have to look very hard to find really good information on how to sight in a rifle or whatever. But I always like that, like I say, that formula where you're, out to, I think it was 250 or 300 yards. You were, you were no more than 3 inches high or 3 inches low all the way out there.
I keep it written on the back of my ammo box of what those heights are. On one of the boxes, I've got the exact height of my bullet.
So if you're shooting out to, like I say, if you're sighting in at 100 yards, go for 2 inches high at 100 yards.
Yep. And that'll put you dead on.
And that'll put you, like I say, that'll give you that formula where you're never more than a few inches high or a few inches low out to 300. So.
And my wife's father, he always did the same thing. He always sighted in at 100 yards because he was a member of a gun club.
Right.
But he would always put 2 dots, the larger dot in the middle and then smaller dot 2 inches high. And he would have basically his crosshairs on the center dot, and his goal was to hit the...
Yeah.
And usually, at 100 yards, he would be 2 inches high perfectly. Yeah. And that was back, I think he was using a 270 back then. But yeah, it always made, perfect sense for me. And my gun isn't powerful enough optics-wise, but if you got a, higher power scope and you're sighting in at 30 yards, you can basically shoot, say if it's bore-sighted or something, you can see your bullet holes pretty clearly.
Right.
You can shoot, and if it's off, don't move your gun at all. If you have it in a vise or something, and you can just adjust the crosshairs right over to where...
That's exactly right.
Your
you lock
bullet's
your
at.
gun in, and you get your crosshairs on the bullseye, and then you adjust that up to the bullet hole.
Yeah. And then you should be... And then fire again, and you should be just about there.
That's exactly right. The key to that is making sure your gun is stable.
Yeah.
Locked in.
Yeah.
When you walk that crosshair up to the bullet hole or down to the bullet hole, whatever the case may be.
My gun the scope isn't powerful enough to really see my bullet holes that clearly even at 30 yards. But I, knock on wood, every year I don't have to touch a thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
My gun is usually right on and ready to go. And I didn't even shoot it last year before I used, and it was the gun that I used to shoot at a deer with was my muzzleloader, and I didn't get it. No.
I didn't get the deer, and the deer was standing. I had a rest on the door of the pickup. The deer was maybe a little more than 100 yards. Dead rest, fired that, and I never touched it.
Did we question if your powder was, one of the pellets was wet?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea, but I'm curious to take that gun out, and I never fired it last year other than that shot at the deer. And I need to shoot that gun.
Yeah.
So
I know.
Maybe buy some new powder. The powder I used was what I had when I bought the gun, or I got it for Christmas.
Yeah, that's old.
Yeah, so it was, I don't know if the early 2000s.
Holy smokes.
You got one the same year, I think, for Christmas.
So it's 20 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's time to upgrade the muzzleloader.
It is. I'd love to have a Woodman Arms there. But
those are nice looking muzzleloaders.
Yeah,
I guess they carry nicely too.
Yeah.
From what people say.
Yeah, they do. There's a lot of things that are nice about them, and they're light.
Yeah,
they're light and they're
virtually indestructible. From
they're
what
accurate.
I understand.
They use the Buckhorn 209 powder in them, and they say they're really good weapons. So
I think didn't they design them to carry somewhat like the Remington 7600?
Actually,
they have the same balance.
I was listening to a podcast, and Tim was saying actually they're balanced a lot better than those.
Are they? Okay.
That's what he was saying. He said if he had to choose a gun to carry, and his rifle is the 7600, he said the Woodman Arms muzzleloader is far better than.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's balanced better. He mentioned where you have to put your hand on a 7600 to balance the gun, and where you put your hand on and it's balanced better.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder, was he referring to a 7600 carbine or a?
Yeah, that I'm not sure.
Because that'll change the the balance.
The 18-inch barrel compared to the rifle barrel. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, those that might be a good upgrade.
Yeah.
To do in a year or two.
Yeah, I really need a new muzzleloader.
And what it does is you buy a new muzzleloader and you really want to use it, it'll guarantee you'll shoot a deer before muzzleloader season. That's how it always works out. You get something new you want to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Want to use.
Yeah.
And because I remember when I bought that muzzleloader, or I got it for Christmas.
Yeah, I think.
Mom pulled a fast one.
Yeah, I think Mom bought you and I both.
You guys were getting me a muzzleloader for Christmas, and then Christmas morning she hands it to you, and you're like, "This isn't for me. This is." And she pulls out another box.
Yeah.
She bought 2 of them.
Yeah.
So, and I can remember I couldn't wait to, because that was when inline muzzleloaders were just
Yeah.
coming out.
Yeah.
It was really popular, and I was amazed at how accurate
Yeah.
the gun was.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I was like, man, I really want to shoot a deer with this, and it just never panned out until we actually we took our deer camp one year. Muzzleloader.
Yeah, we both shot deer with our muzzle loaders. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
It did the trick. Put a great big hole.
Yeah.
Put a great big hole.
Well, you took the jugular, so you didn't go far.
Yeah, that was a mess.
Yeah, a lot of blood.
That was a mess.
On fresh snow.
Yeah, it looks like it's hard to get pictures with, you got to drag the deer quite a ways off to the side.
Yeah.
Because, man, it can ruin. I've got some pictures from another buck that I'd shot bedded down, and he jumped up out of his bed. I shot him in his bed.
That was the rainstorm buck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd shot him in his bed, had no idea I was there.
Yeah.
And he came up out of that bed. He must have been 12 feet in the air.
Yeah.
And of course, I unloaded on him as he was running to the left. He only went, 20 yards. He just went through some raspberry bushes and was down. Yeah. And we took a bunch of pictures, and I get back and I'm looking at him. I'm like, oh my gosh.
There's
blood everywhere.
Paul, I don't know why, but I didn't take any video of that deer.
I know.
We took pictures and stuff.
Probably because it was pouring so hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't take any video of that deer.
It was a soaking wet day.
Yeah.
Didn't know how long I would last, but I didn't need to last long.
It was you're right. It was a great day to shoot a deer if you could put up with the weather.
I think that was one of those days that Lord was like, this guy's nuts. Let's just throw him a bone here. And because I went 10 minutes.
You didn't hunt very long.
And
I hadn't
shot him in his bed.
Barely get out of the truck. I was barely out of the truck.
It was funny. And I got a story on this, but you were like, you're seriously getting out.
Yeah.
Because we went all morning looking for a deer track.
Yeah.
And like we get snow during the night.
Right.
And then it transitioned to rain that morning. And I'm getting really impatient. It's like 9:30 now. Yeah. Haven't seen a deer track, which is common after a snowstorm.
Snow. Yeah.
It's hard to, deer aren't moving. Hard to find a deer track. And it's switched over to rain. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh. We finally got some snow.
It was raining hard.
And we come back to a spot that we checked that morning, and there was a
he walked down over the bank and down. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm going, and you're like, you're really going out in this?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll go as long as if it's an hour that I can go before
you're completely soaked.
Then it's an hour.
Yeah.
But I'm going, and it was that pouring rain, but foggy.
Yeah.
Kind of things were warming up. No wind.
No.
At all. And I go down along the edge of a cut. I mean, only probably 50, 75 yards down off the road. And you're like, I'm going to go up and park on the knoll, and I'll put my rain gear on and
come back
and to where follow you in.
Right. I come back to where you started in on the track, and I was going to follow you in. So I was going to catch you in a few minutes.
Yeah.
And I was still on the road when you were shooting.
Yeah, I think you were outside putting your rain gear on.
Yeah.
I was actually right down below you.
You were right down below me. And I thought, I can't believe that he's already caught that deer.
Yeah,
I mean, it had to be you shooting. You were only 100 yards away or whatever.
It must have sounded like I was right on top of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I come through some raspberry bushes, and I'm coming down into this little ravine, and I step up onto a log, and I'm like, there's a deer bedded there.
Yeah.
And of course, you're all, hyped up. You pull up real quick to shoot. And I remember just seeing his head looking away from me, seeing his antlers, and just seeing the main beam turn to the right. And I'm like, he doesn't even know I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm like, just relax and make a good shot. And I just center mass.
Yeah.
Let her go. But that was pretty cool. That was a wet day. Yeah. But I don't know how we get on that.
Yeah, that was one of the easier ones. We spent a lot of days working our tails off.
Yeah, I always say it all comes out in the wash.
It does. It all averages out.
You've got some days where you're like, holy smokes, that happened in like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
It was almost too good to be true.
Yeah.
And then you've got
too easy
a month where you're like, I don't think this is ever going to happen.
Yeah, and you seem to do it, and you work hard, and you think you're doing everything right, but it's just not connecting. It's just not happening and stuff, and that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
So,
if it was always easy,
yeah,
I guess it wouldn't be as fun.
I guess the key there is you always go out, always be there. You're always in the game if you're
right.
out there.
You're right.
Yeah. Your chances are zero at the, home or at
Sitting
camp
at home.
or whatever. So
that's one of the reasons why I've never I don't think it's as popular now, but years ago, having over and under sights were really popular. And I've always been pick one and stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I understand if I'm in dense cover, I got iron sights for stuff up close,
right.
and then far away, I got, my telescopic optics for that. But I don't know if I could. Plus, you're higher up off the gun,
right,
which makes it feel more unnatural. Yeah. I don't know. I just never cared for them, but a lot of guys used them.
Yeah. I never had a chance, Paul. One of the things, and we know most of the buck trackers, they all go for the Peep sights and stuff. And I never had a chance to shoot it, to be familiar with it. And now it's...
You probably can't do it.
That ship has sailed. Yeah. I can't see the sights that close.
Yeah.
So
that Williams Peep sight that I put on that 7600, I really like how...
Well, you can still do it, but my eyes, like I say, won't focus on the one closest to me, the Peep.
Yeah.
The post I can probably see, but
the theory behind it is it doesn't have to focus on the Peep.
Yeah, well, I can't, it would be, right, I'm not focused, but, see it or whatever. I can't.
Yeah, it's probably non-existent.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea behind it, and it does, your mind naturally centers anything when you're looking through a hole.
Right.
So you don't even have to have that in focus. All you have to do is see your bead.
Yeah.
And and it's crazy. It does. It pulls that bead right dead center.
Yeah.
Like every time. And I went with I know a lot of guys go with a Skinner Peep sight, but I went with a Williams just because I grew up reading the Benoits.
Traditional.
They always use the Williams Peep sight.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of what I had always, so I was, and they're I think it was like $40.
Didn't yours come with a Peep sight or?
No, it just had the iron sights on.
Oh, it did. Okay.
Yeah. And I think the deal is, I think the Williams, I don't know, someone can confirm this. I think they're hard to get. I don't think you can find them anywhere.
Yeah.
And it was funny. I get on Amazon and I ordered a Williams Peep sight for the 7600, no problem. And then someone asked me about Peep sight, and I was like, I'll send them the link. I couldn't find. I don't know how I ended up finding one available. Yeah. Brand new. But when I went to search again, I couldn't find one that I could buy.
Huh.
But yeah, I think it was like $39.
Yeah.
And I took the aperture out, just like the...
Yeah. Well, that's not very expensive. $39 for a sight.
No. No, I'm quite certain. I'll double check, but I think it was $39. And so I took the aperture out, went out back and shot it, and I didn't get too serious about... I just had a table sitting there and started at about 30 yards.
Yeah.
And just was resting on the table. And I could be surprisingly... And I didn't have the perfect setup. My bullseye was a little too small for the post, so it kind of would cover up the whole thing.
Right.
So it was hard to find a point of reference to be consistently, know that I'm aiming at the same spot every time. I could see where I could get off a little bit, but Lord, it was, I was like right there.
So would you consider hunting with that gun?
No, I don't know. I'll probably shoot it off of the vise when we go shoot. And just really, but I don't think it would be an issue, but I hunt with a semi-automatic and I know how it carries, and I don't know if I
want to jump back and forth
running the pump, if that would, I don't think it would. Like that side-by-side 20 gauge that I bought, it's got a double trigger and I seem to be able to go back and forth fine between shooting a regular over and under with just one trigger versus
But
side by side.
sometimes, like you say, if you're really familiar with one, you don't want to have to stop and maybe in the heat of the moment try to think about, okay, now I'm carrying this gun and I need to do something a little bit different. So
I mean, everything on the 7600 is pretty close to the 7400 as far as safety, location.
They're basically sister guns. So
but the pump, I don't know. You hate to. You oftentimes just get one chance,
right?
And you hate to be messing around with something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think it's a good backup to have.
Yeah,
it definitely. I'll tell you, I like how it. I like the balance of it.
Yeah,
it really carries nicely. It really has. It is a little bit awkward, I think, holding it in one hand down by my side.
Yeah.
I think the balance point's a little bit weird.
That's what I was saying with Timmy.
If I remember correctly, just holding it outside in the yard, it kind of is in a weird spot.
Yeah, Timmy Bolduc talked about that. That it was.
Yeah, like I think my 7400 is basically right at the clip.
Mm-hmm.
So when I have my hand, it's nice and comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm really moving along and I have my gun down by my side, I can hold it right around the.
Right.
Feels like the center of the gun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think when I was out back kind of playing around with that one, it was a little bit weird. But yeah, pretty, I like how a Peep shoots. I wish I would have done it more.
Right. Because now you like you say there again, you're used to using one sight and you hate to, jump back and forth. And
I'm not superstitious, but I don't like switching things up a whole lot.
No.
I even do it with
especially in something, Paul. I mean, if you were fishing and trying different fly rods or whatever, but you're out deer hunting and you get one opportunity.
Yeah.
You don't want to be messing it up.
No.
By doing something foolish. So
like I think of like I could definitely see myself short cycling it.
Yeah.
And jamming it.
Yeah.
Like not getting that to
Yeah.
And so I guess that's kind of in the back of my head.
Yeah.
I've never had an issue with my 7400.
Yeah.
Ever. It's been pretty reliable.
I mean, theoretically, people always say, well, they jam, they're jam-o-matics and stuff, but the theory behind it, it's the perfect gun. You don't have to think about a thing. You just you have to
safety off,
and not only that is reduced recoil, so that you're back on target.
Yep.
A lot faster than with a pump.
Yeah,
because they kick a lot less.
Yeah. When I'm out back shooting that pump,
so all you have to do is get back on target, which is a lot easier because it kicked you a lot less, and pull the trigger again.
Yep.
So the theory behind it, if everything works the way it should, there's nothing better to hunt with.
No.
The follow-up shot should be, And I don't care what these people say. I've heard people say, well, he shoots it as fast as... You cannot shoot as fast as I can shoot my semi.
No.
There's no way.
No
way. I can empty that gun pretty darn quick.
I've heard it.
And accurately, because like I say, you can get back on target so quick because it really doesn't kick that bad.
No.
So
no, it gives a little push.
Yeah.
Just a little push, and you just worry about making a good shot on the deer.
Yeah.
And and I know, you get guys that really rag on them.
Yeah.
And everyone has different experiences. And obviously, if your first experience with something
is bad,
you tend to.
Yeah.
But I know guys that have several of them. And I know guys that have gotten 7400s from people that claimed it did nothing but jam.
Mm.
And they just gave it a good cleaning.
Right.
A little TLC.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's crazy. I get this for like pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
Guy said it was a piece of junk, jammed every time.
Yeah.
And he's like, it shoots fantastic.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know what the...
Yeah.
And maybe it's the ammunition they're running through it. I don't change up the ammo at all.
Right.
I just stick with Remington core lock, 150 grains, and I never have any issue.
Yeah.
Maybe, if I change ammo
or
something like that, I could have a problem, but I don't.
Yeah.
stay pretty consistent.
The one thing that I will say about mine, and that I've read too, is and especially yours not so much, but mine is it's not a very accurate gun. You're not going to shoot.
No, mine's pretty good.
Yeah, you're not going to shoot
mine.
MOA with mine.
No.
Mine will not shoot MOA. No way, not even close.
Yours does seem to throw.
It throws some wild shots
bit,
there. Yeah, that is a beef I have with mine.
Yeah.
But
then again, our style of hunting, you
Right.
don't need to be a tack driver.
No.
You can't have, I guess you ultimately can't have the best of everything.
Right. Right.
Best of both worlds. You kind of get to figure out your style of hunting and what suits is most conducive for you, and then work, towards that goal in mind.
Yeah.
Because I do it with a lot of things. You kind of want, well, I want this for this situation. I want that for that situation. Then you end up with a whole bunch of stuff that really doesn't do any of it all that great.
Right, exactly. It does a lot of things, but none of them good.
No.
So, yeah. I still hunt, and I wouldn't, I'm the same way, Paul. If I had a pump, I wouldn't, a 7600, I wouldn't go to it.
Yeah.
I would still use my old 742. And
I mean, you shot a deer.
It shoots so easy. I mean, like I say,
You shot a deer a couple of years ago that was over 200 yards.
Yeah, I don't know. It was quite a distance.
It was a long way. Well, there's a video on it. That was a long ways down through a cut.
Yeah.
Off a maple tree.
Yeah, it killed it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May have scared it to death, but.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of my few times, Paul. I shot once.
Dropped it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to get him to run first.
Yeah.
You got to make it interesting.
Yeah, believe me, I wouldn't do that on purpose. So.
Lanny Benoit?
Yeah, I remember the video there. Yeah, it was,
He's like, sometimes you just got to make him run.
Yeah. It's going to be a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't need any more of a challenge.
No.
I'm not Lanny Benoit.
No.
So.
Well, good. So we'll be, like I said, just got back from bird hunting. Didn't shoot any birds this past week or this past Saturday.
Yeah. I do have a story there to tell you. So we went up to the camp yesterday to...
Did you see a bird?
We went up to the camp. We're coming back into town by the water district where the A&P plant used to be. Bird come across the road right in front of the pickup. And I mean, his tail feathers were dusting off my windshield.
Oh, no way.
That was the funniest thing. He come across the road at an angle, and of course, I'm going about 45 right there.
Yeah.
And it looked like he was going to run into the truck.
Jeez.
He came right up by Narda's window, went across the front of the truck, and then was going right down the road in front of me. And it, like I say, he was right there. It looked like if the window wasn't there, you could have reached out and grabbed him. He went across and went down towards the river there by the
no kidding.
Sewer treatment plant. Yeah. And I thought, right in town. And you were up in the woods all day, never saw a bird. And
No, it was windy and misty, but it was real windy yesterday.
And you were with the family.
We didn't take it serious. We, get up when they were ready. I think we get out by 8:30 or 9.
It's a whole different,
went for a walk in the morning. And, get the dog with us and 3 kids and
it's a whole different
Lacey, and they're playing with the dog, distracting the dog. And it's like, whatever, just kind of go along with it.
Family time.
And then, go back to the camper for lunch, and they watched a movie for a little bit.
Yeah.
And did it in the evening.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't too.
It wasn't about killing birds. I mean, if you just seen them.
Lacey kind of was the end of the day. She went off for a walk there, kind of on her own, and she's like, "I don't want to come out of here empty-handed."
Yeah.
Well, you might.
Well, and Lacey doesn't have a lot of opportunities, and she's got a brand new gun, and she wants to. Yeah, I can see her reasoning.
She was a little driven at the end of the day, but we'll get a better day. We'll go out and she'll get a bird or two.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Yeah. So then we got to get out and check some trail cams.
Yeah,
maybe this Wednesday.
Yeah.
I'll stick around, do a little bird hunting in the morning.
Yeah.
Check some cameras, and maybe if it's not, is it going to be nice, or?
The weather I've seen, Paul, it's going to be cooler. It's going to be in the 50s this week.
I got to shoot my rifle too.
Yeah. Now they are saying showers and stuff. I think for some of the, I think Monday and Tuesday were good. But after that, I think there possibility around 50%. It didn't look like heavy rain or anything. And
I think we should shoot that Model 81.
Yeah, we can shoot that Model 81.
Would you shoot it?
Yeah.
Have
you don't want to shoot a lot of that.
No, but you can. There is ammo available for it.
Yeah, I'll check that out. You had mentioned that.
Yeah, I was like, I'll send you a guy and commented on my channel had mentioned that you can buy some ammo for it.
So that was your great-grandfather's gun, his deer rifle.
Bought it brand new.
Yeah, and can't tell you anything about the gun, whether he ever, I can't even tell you if he ever hunted with it.
I think he died a couple years after he purchased it.
He bought the gun. I think the gun is 1936, did we determine, or 38?
Oh, look, it's written down.
And he either died, my grandfather died in either 39 or 40, 1939 or 1940. So
just a couple years.
Yeah, it's either a 36 or 38, the year it was made. And like I say, he either died in 39 or Dad was born in 1930, and his Gramp died when he was 9 years old.
Yes, yeah,
so
too young.
So that gun is been passed down now. You're the fourth generation.
Yep.
That gun is so.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So alrighty. Is that it?
Yep.
Finishes it up.
I got nothing
16.
else. So
yeah. Neither do I.
Yeah.
So I guess until next time, get outside.
It's good for the soul.
See ya.